Hey,
Hi.
everybody. Welcome to the Agent Unleashed. And we have a very special guest tonight. I want to introduce Miss Sharon Gist, who is going to give us all the secrets about being a top six-figure listing agent, if not more, because I know that she can get us to way over $1 million. How's that, Sharon? I love it. I love it. So, anyways, by way of introduction, let me just say that Sharon is an overeducated entrepreneur with two master's degrees and certificates in consciousness, health and healing, hypnosis, journal writing, seminar leader, and has published 4 books that went to Amazon's top seller list. In a former life, she helped take a company on Wall Street, I can't believe this, from $3 million to $17 billion, which nearly killed her, literally. So now she is a successful networker, helping to build teams to ongoing residual income and personal freedom. Although her professional passion is to help people to become more self-aware, more joyful, and able to create a new story of personal and financial freedom, there is more to her than just business and education. I am so proud to have Sharon here joining me tonight. I consider her to be one of my dearest friends, my spiritual mentor, if you will. Welcome, Sharon Gist. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, this is so fun, Chris. And you know what I love about us doing these things together? For one thing, by the way, I'm not on Facebook. I'm just in StreamYard. I don't know whether I'd see better on Facebook, but I'm just
Oh,
gonna stay here. I don't care. Anybody
okay.
seeing me,
Sorry about
whatever.
that.
No, it's my fault. But I don't want to waste time with it. But what I wanted to say was you are an extraordinary real estate agent. You have just consistently put one foot in front of the other and achieved one goal after another. After I think you had a former life as an
Hmm.
accountant or something, but
Right.
you love people, which is way more appropriate for you. And what you're doing now, coaching other agents, is like that's what gives you juice. And here I am.
Mhm.
I don't do real estate. I love real estate. It's kind of like been a hobby on the side. But but what I see is that together we uplift the planet. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So
I
and,
love it. I love
and
it.
and part of what we're going to be able to do today is share with people some of your secrets that got you to being a seven-figure earner, and me, I'm not a $1 million earner. I'll tell you that right now, everybody. I mean, I've had
Mhm.
millions of dollars, but I'm not $1 million earner yet. But between the two of us, we have skills that will enhance your life. Everything about it. It's not just about the money. It's also about the
Mhm.
quality of your life. So anyway, Chris, I am
Absolutely.
all yours.
Thank you so much. I'm really was so looking forward to this because every time I get together with you, I just feel so uplifted, to use your words. And so, just so everybody knows, Sharon and I, dear friends, we talk at a minimum a couple times a month, and we go down these rabbit holes of spirituality and consciousness and what's important in life and all that other good stuff. But the main thing that we're here tonight to talk about is how to be more effective, how to be a better listing agent in real estate. And Sharon, I have to tell you, I think you already know this. Probably about 10 years ago, I had a podcast and I interviewed over 80 top, real estate agents that were making well over $1 million a year. They had huge teams. Some didn't have huge teams. One guy was a listing agent in Beverly Hills and sold the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know if you remember that television show. Anybody watching the mansion that was featured on that? And but I have talked to so many people, and one of the greatest questions that I ask, I think, is what is the one thing that you attribute to your success? And so I've asked like over 80 people this, and guess what they all said? You want to hear? I bet you, Sharon, you can guess what it is. Sharon, take it away.
Some version of mindset, mental attitude, and mindset. Bottom line.
Yep, exactly. I know, absolutely. Because that's so funny that you say that because that is really what it is. There is no difference between selling a $500,000 house and selling a $5 million house, and the only difference really is what's in between, your ears. And one of the things Sharon and I talk about is how to how is it that you develop that vision and develop the confidence, Sharon? How do you develop the confidence behind a vision? Let's just say somebody's watching this and they're only making $50,000 a year, or they're making $100,000 a year, and they really want to scale that business up to $500,000 a year. But they're afraid to work the high-end market. They're afraid to meet those people, or they're afraid to do the marketing required. What is it? I mean, this thing is totally unscripted, guys. So I'm asking these questions of Sharon just off the cuff. But what is it that they can do? What can they change? What's that click they can make in their brain to totally change their focus in terms of what's possible?
Today is a perfect day, by the way, for us to do this, because I had to do some total adjustments in my brain today for what I'm doing in my life. And so I got to observe that process of being able to pull it back together again. And what happens is, when we go down a negative rabbit hole, some people go down there and they stay down there, and that turns into their whole personality. Other people see, oh, this is a circumstance, let me see what I can do to adjust it. And some people, and really what we're talking about is how we're holding ourselves in the world. So there's two little pieces to this. One, I'm seeing our self-talk, how we talk to ourselves. Oh, you can never sell a $5 million house. You're too short. You don't have the right wardrobe. You don't have the right car. Or it's just another zero in the end. Let's go, guys. I mean,
right.
We're just adding zeros. And part of it is what we believe is possible. And sometimes we need to borrow our belief from someone who we know, like, and trust, and frankly, we all need mentors. You have mentors. I have mentors. And a mentor is different from a coach. I mean, and I don't know that you recognize what a mentor you are in addition to being a coach, because a coach.
I thought I was just gregarious.
Well, what you do is you help people to see things that they don't even know are possible in them. A coach will help you to solve a problem that's in front of you and help you to get, a direction. But a mentor helps you to see that you've got those resources inside you to be able to continue doing that. And a mentor will help you to navigate your rabbit holes so you don't fall into them, and go down them.
Right.
And that's really what you do for people. So going back to the question of, well, what do you do to get yourself in that state? You talk to 80 successful real estate, because you're focused on real estate, which you should be. And they all had variations on mindset, vision, confidence, which all has to do with what's between their ears. And you could have the mistake that most people make is they focus on strategy. How do I get my leads? What do I do next? What's the thing to do next? And they miss setting themselves up with the clarity of who they want to become when they're making millions of dollars. Who cares if you make $10 million a year and you're stressed out and miserable and sick and have no love and no fun in your life? But if you can do that and love yourself and your life, there's nothing that says that making more money requires you to be stressed out like that. No, the mindset is you get the clarity of, okay, what do I want my life to look like? Gee, I'd love to wake up in Panama and look out my expansive view and see the promenade. And when I'm ready, I can go for a walk for a couple of miles and people watch, or I can go swim a couple of miles. You had the vision and you created it. And you can't, anything that we can make up in our mind's eye, we can create. And where we place our focus, that's what we get more of. And
well, let me ask you this. How is this? I mean, there's some people that are sitting here saying, how do you do this? What are the tools to do this? So what I'm hearing is I'm hearing that the vision, this is one of the things I always concentrate. You're not only that you have the vision to go where you want to go, but you believe that vision. What
Yes,
are
you
the
have to have
tools you would
faith.
use? Say that again.
I said, yes, you have to have faith, not just belief.
Yeah.
You have to have belief in the possibility. You have to have belief in that you can do it, and you can have
Mm-hmm.
to have belief that it's a good thing. You have to you
Mm-hmm.
have to have you have to line up your vision and your belief, and it's all undergirded. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't get, but it's undergirded by love and gratitude. You're
Yes.
doing this because it's a way of loving on people. You do it because
Mm-hmm.
you make a difference, because you have an impact, because it's a positive social impact, which is frankly the company I'm working with. That's what their goal is. And what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing is creating a space for people to step into their greatness, so to speak. And that
Mm-hmm.
because you're coming from love and gratitude, knowing that you've got the resources for yourself, we're not in competition with each other. I mean, if I were another realtor, you'd
Okay.
have the same conversation with me. It's not like, oh, well, there's only so
Yeah.
many houses, I'm going to get the most of them. Nah,
Yeah.
let's,
Oh, we'd be
let's
sitting here talking about strategy.
yes.
Yeah.
And
But
by the
listen,
time
let me play. Go
you get
ahead.
your vision, get your belief, and you know that it's undergirded by love, and the peace that makes everything is the gratitude. You have the gratitude before it even happens, because you're so grateful and you're walking in that view, and your brain doesn't know the difference between your current circumstances and what you keep telling it that's happening. It's like, oh, okay. And so you're a $1 million earner walking down the street. How does that feel? What do you look like? How are you talking to people? How are you treating the people who are
Mm-hmm.
serving you in the public place? So those are the tools that do that. And you have a consciousness, an awareness of who you're being in the marketplace, in the world, in your life. So go ahead, play devil's
Okay,
advocate.
I want to play devil's advocate, and I want to say, okay, so you've got a guy that's making $100,000 a year, and he's got a fairly decent real estate business, and he's a real type A. Is that a right brain? Is right? No, left brain. He's a left brain, real type A kind of personality, and he's saying, this talk of gratitude is bullshit. What does gratitude have to do with success?
If you are not grateful for what you have, chances are you're not going to get more. I think what's happening here
Hmm.
is it's a little bit of like, we're afraid to use the word spiritual or to talk. We don't want to get into religiosity or telling people what to believe or what to think. But
Hmm.
there are there's scientific evidence that gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. And it's scientifically proven that what you're thinking about expands. And so
Hmm.
if what you're thinking about is how do I get there, which is a strategy, you cannot just open the universe to new resources. It all depends on you. But if you can be in a state of gratitude, I know I'm getting that $5 million listing. I'm not sure where it's coming from or what's going to happen but I see myself walking in with this client and getting this $5 million listing and knowing that it's all going to be for the highest good of all concerned, that this is
Hmm.
happening. And you experience that and you feel the gratitude, you feel it in your body, what it feels like when you get that client. You're going to be way more likely to get the client than if you're sitting there scribbling away. Okay, how do I do this? I need 17 million leads to get to, and you're in this state of like this. And then this person comes into your office and you're like, yes, you're not going to get the listing, right?
Exactly. Right. Right. Right.
And how many of us go through life like that? For real.
Uh-huh. Well, I think that's so funny. I think gratitude is so important, and to use. I I know what you're saying about the love part, but you know, you don't usually hear the words love and business associated.
And to me, without the love, it gets empty. I feel you burn out.
Mhm.
I burned out of 3 different careers. And what
Mm,
I and because I didn't know these things. I just,
mm,
I was like, I was never complete. I never felt good about it. I never rewarded myself. I just was like one foot in front of the other. And yeah, I helped build a company from 3 million to 17 billion, hit 67 cities in less than 3 months, met 2,500 people.
wow,
And
that's
guess what?
crazy.
My body says she's not going to listen to me unless I tell her. So my body collapsed. Duh. I was only
Wow.
34 years old. And the
But you
gift,
had the money. You had the money. Isn't that the measure by which most people measure success?
for one thing, I had more than enough, but I didn't have that extraordinary wealth. The company did. I didn't, I mean,
Hmm.
my pension from that company that I helped build to $17 billion, guess what my pension is from them?
What's that?
$364 a month,
Oh,
plus
wow.
plus the company that bought us out for 17 billion pays me 599. So I have a whopping under $100,000 a month pension from that work that I did.
And the worst part is, Sharon, is you sold your New York apartment. You
I
should
know
have
my
kept
New
it.
York apartment that I bought for 279,000, sold for 450, is probably worth 10 million now, at least,
Oh,
at least.
Jesus. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's crazy. But you can see where like a lot of people could watch this and say, you know, this is okay. It's all fine and dandy, but we need the strategy too, right? We
You
can't
do.
just sit on our couches and try to manifest stuff without doing the strategy as well.
You do, but you can't. But if you try to do the strategy first, you go around in circles, which is I'm
Yes.
really good at that. I'm really good at that, And you
Mhm.
try something and it's not instantly producing something. So you go to something else and then you go to something else because you have no clarity about it. But if you have
Yes. Thank you.
but if you have the vision and the clarity, and the belief that and it's good to have evidence, like you
Hmm.
have evidence that you do what you do, and you follow these steps and you give people those strategies to
Hmm.
follow. But if you don't start with the love and the gratitude, then there's nothing for people to be drawn to. The
Hmm.
strategies are built on top of the other. So essentially, what I'm calling it state. I think that comes out of Tony Robbins or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I've talked
Hmm.
to so many thousands of gurus that I don't know where my stuff comes from. Some of it's Jim Rohn, some of it's Tony Robbins, some of it's Sean G. Murphy, Proctor.
Too
But
funny.
but the bottom line is that the state we're in, you know,
Hmm.
if Winnie the Pooh, there's Pooh, and there's Eeyore, and there's
Hmm.
Piglet, and there's Tigger, and Eeyore is so miserable. And if you try to make sales from the state of being an Eeyore, you're going to
Hmm.
draw more Eeyores to you.
I
And
love
if
that.
somebody positive and wonderful comes into your life, chances are they'll bounce off of you because you won't be able to tolerate that much joy. You won't be able
Hmm.
to tolerate somebody having enough money to buy a $5 million house from you. You're going to go, well, why can't I have
Hmm.
that before you even get there? And
Like
and
attracts like.
and that is, it's not just law of attraction woo woo stuff. It's actually scientifically proven. Anybody who wants to know more about that, go find some YouTubes with Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Hmm.
who has scientific evidence of what happens to our brain when we're in love and gratitude, and what happens to our brain when we're in misery. And we can heal our bodies, we can heal our lives, we can heal anything when we can change that mindset.
I love that. I love it. You know, the funny thing is as you know, I have a course called the Agent Unleashed Collective, and it's an 8-week course, and then we have a year-long mastermind after it. The very first week of the course is all about working on your mindset, your health, and your vision. And I'll tell you, 80% of the people, let's just say that I can't say 80%. Most people don't really appreciate the significance of that being first, and they sort of gloss over it, and they want to move directly into strategy, which is what obviously we get into. But I totally agree. If you don't have that foundation, can we call it a foundation of love, gratitude, mindset, state? I love all these words. I think that's phenomenal. Can I ask you what is, you know, you've been outrageously successful in so many different things. What is your personal, what's your daily routine like in the morning? My morning routine is like very regimented. My afternoon's all over the place. Could you just take 1 minute and tell us what your morning
Well,
routine
frankly,
is?
if I wanted to follow somebody's model, I would be more likely to follow your model than mine, because you are consistent, and
Mhm.
consistency is 90% of the strategy game. If you
Yep,
can't get yourself consistent
that's
in your
where the money
strategy,
is.
that's where, and the reason that people are not consistent is that they don't have that mindset. Now, I have the mindset, but I also have little pockets of that I work on that keep me from being consistent. Like, for example, you cannot ride 4 horses with one ass. If I'm trying
I
to do
love that.
strategically, if you can choose one, that's all. Choose it. Go for it. You know it works. Other people have made it work. Make it work for you. Don't get distracted. Okay. So
Mhm.
my day, I start out, because partly because I'm a little old lady and I like to do this, I get up in the morning and I meditate. I meditate for a minimum of a half an hour. If I don't, or a minimum of 15 minutes, if I don't do
Mhm.
that, then my day tends to be rougher. Guess what? I didn't do that this morning. And guess what? I've had a rougher day.
Mm.
But you spend, but you, well, I start with it, and my preference is to spend at least an hour. In the meditation, I I don't want to stop meditating until I get to the place where I know where I don't want to be. Like, I actually am willing to look at the ugly parts of myself and
Mm.
choose what I really want to be. It's not like you
Mhm.
stuff all the negativity, because it just stuffs right back in you. What you do
Right,
is
right.
you bring it to conscious awareness and say, "Oh, okay, I think, yeah, I remember when that happened, and this feeling in my body resembles that, but that's not who I am today. Who I am
Mm.
today is a $1 million earner who is having so much
Mhm.
fun, loving on people, and I have so much gratitude for all the good that's coming my way, and I start envisioning all the good coming my way. So I don't stop the meditation until I'm really in that state of love and gratitude. That's my goal.
Mm.
And sometimes I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I have to be somewhere at 7. But I want to make sure I
Mm.
have that time. And I generally don't schedule stuff too early so that I can get up at 5 or 6 instead. You know,
Right, right.
but meditation is really important. And what I also do after that meditation I call it scribbling. I have this conversation with Jesus that I have every morning. I mean, I write, I say what's going on, and he answers back, and I'm always shocked. And because I've had so much self-judgment in my life, and that's
Mhm.
been my biggest hurdle to overcome to get into state, I always get this feedback: I love you. You're beautiful. You're my special one. I get all, it's like all the things I ever wanted anybody to say to me, I get said to me in my journal. But guess what? It alters my inside, and it gives me enough altitude to step back and see, okay, you're trying to ride 4 horses. Which horse would you like to ride?
Hmm.
But if
Right.
I don't have that altitude, I just scramble, and I'm getting more consistent, and I'm learning new things, and I'm trying to integrate what I learn into actual behaviors that I can do consistently. But in the
Hmm.
meantime, I know in my heart of hearts that I have all of the resources inside me to create anything I really choose to create. And I'm just, you know, doing, and I'm always a work in progress. I mean, I'm no
Yeah.
youngster here, but I'm getting younger by the day, right?
Well, you know what I really love about you is that you have such certainty about how you're feeling and the gratitude and what you want to accomplish in life. And I just love that about you, that there's just such confidence and certainty. And that's something I think that we really need in business, right?
Yeah.
We need
Well,
that certainty.
and we also do need to have mentors. We do. I mean, if I were in
Hmm.
real estate, Chris, I would pay every penny I had to have you be my mentor, because I know you
Oh,
would get me from A to Z way faster than I would get there on my own. I just know that. Okay.
thank you.
And if you were going to be a network marketer, I know you would join my team, because you
Hmm.
know that fundamentally I'm going to steer you right. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. And I'm not going
Hmm.
to just say, well, just call one more person. What's the matter with you? Don't you have any people to
Hmm.
call? Make a list.
I love it. I love it. Oh, Molly is asking in the comments. She wants to know if you. She says, "I've never meditated and I'm not religious. What do I do?
Okay.
How do I get started?"
Excellent question. I yeah, I started doing transcendental meditation when I was 24 years old, because I was sick every day. When I was a teacher, I was miserable, and I just had to calm my nervous system. I think, frankly, it saved my life because it calmed my nervous system. It had nothing to do with religion. In those days, I couldn't even say the G word without it feeling horrible. I had so much hatred and pain in my life that I couldn't even think about God as a possibility for me. No, I didn't deserve that.
Hmm.
So that wasn't even in my consciousness. But meditation helped my body to calm down so that I could begin to grow inside. And then I became a personal development junkie. I've
Hmm.
done courses like, I guess the forum is a version of S, that when I did it was LifeSpring. I did a different company, but that just started me on this trajectory of learning. And of course, I've always been a learner. So what I'd say to
Hmm.
somebody who doesn't consider themselves religious or wanting to meditate or anything, if you can just give yourself 5 minutes in the morning to
Yes.
breathe, to follow your breath. Do nothing else. Just notice your breath. And what I notice is, because you say I know how I feel. This is a very learned skill. I shut down all my feelings when I was 13
Uh
years
huh.
old and my mother killed herself. I shut down all my feelings.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I started being aware, really. But
Wow.
even though I did all this work, it took me a really long time to get it at feelings. And what I notice when I'm breathing and just following the breath, and even it's like, if I don't have time, and I've heard it said, if you don't have time to meditate for 15 minutes, you should meditate for an hour. Because
Yeah.
what you you're in charge of the scope of your life. So if you can
Hmm.
breathe and notice it. Now, what I notice is my body starts, tingling, or I get itches and I get uncomfortable and I want to move and I can't stop my thoughts and I can't, what is this meditation stuff? But if I just don't move and I don't get up and I let the thoughts come through, after a while, it all calms down. And after
Yes.
it's all calmed down, and frankly, my brain waves change after that. If I wish I could monitor them all the time, but I know that they do. That's the state that I'm in, that I can start to notice, okay, so what do I really want? Who do
Hmm.
I want to be? And feel the feelings of what that would look like. Now that's challenging for me because I haven't, I mean, I have made a lot of money, come and gone,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I haven't been able to sustain it because I didn't have the self-esteem in the past. I'm so looking forward to 2024. This is my year. I have to tell you. But but meanwhile, I'm there. I'm living that life in my mind's eye. And
Hmm.
it's not like in March, the money didn't come on. Oh, it's not true. It has nothing to, I don't care. It's here. It's
Hmm.
on its way. And so
Right.
that meditative state is not about religiosity. I am the last person, since I came so late to having any kind of ability to have a conversation with Jesus. I mean, I don't even use that word most of the time because if you'd said that to me, it would have turned me off, you know,
Hmm.
five,
Hmm.
10 years ago, because it was like,
Hmm.
that's not me, I don't have that
Hmm.
relationship. But what happens is what I notice is that there has always been a place that knew on some level there had to be some organizing force that was bigger than me. I mean, the
Hmm.
sun sets and it rises, you know, there are certain laws of the universe that happen. And as I've gotten more aware, and as I've studied people like Dr. Joe, and I studied a guy named Dr. Ira Progoff, who died years ago, who was my mentor for 10 years and taught me how to do this specific journal writing process that helps us tap into our unconscious in a different way. What happens is that uh, there's a place inside that tunes into universal principles. And on a scientific level, there's a quantum field out there. This is awesome. This quantum
Hmm.
field of information is limitless. We live
Hmm.
in and everything that we see, everything that we know was in somebody's imagination first. And the
Hmm.
impossible became possible because somebody knew it would happen. And they didn't
Hmm.
know all the steps, but they put one step in front of the other. And they did something that
Hmm.
they were supposed to do. And they learned from every mistake. They learned from every setback. The company I'm with right now is just completely reorganized. I love this company. I love their vision. I don't care that they reorganize because I know that they're going to get where they want to go because their vision is very clear and their motivation is really clear, you know.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, but I've had to, wrap my head around change. Nobody likes change. Nobody does.
Yep. And
And
it's
and
inevitable.
and as a real estate agent, all these people that you're dealing with, they're facing one of the three most stressful changes of their lives. They're buying a house
Hmm.
or selling a house or moving from a house. Their life is changing.
Hmm.
And when you come with that, with the clarity of your service versus how many dollars I'm going to make from this sale,
Yes.
you're going to have a very different experience, and so will your
Hmm.
clients. you know and
Hmm.
and I'm not even in real estate, but I know this, right?
Right. 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 But I think that is what's really cool too, is, Molly. What I would suggest, what you mentioned, Sharon, is a good place to start would be Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has recorded meditations. I would definitely look him up, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Great. He's a great place to start.
and
I mean, when
and
I first meditated, I was so happy that I did 5 minutes. And it
right,
felt like I was there for an hour.
right. What I'd also say about Dr. Joe is he's written several books. I met him when his first book came out, God, 15, 20 years ago, whatever. And um, and he was in the movie called What the Bleep Do We Know, which was sort of a follow-up to the movie The Secret. But I fell in love with Dr. Joe back then. And then his first book was very scientific, beyond what most people will go through, but I loved it. And the second book was called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One. And what you want to do is, like, by losing your mind and creating a new one, then you become a new person. You know, you leave the baggage behind. And people say, well, I had a horrible childhood, and I had a horrible childhood too. So what?
yeah, really.
But it's not just so what. I learned from it. I am more resilient. I have more empathy, more compassion, more kindness in my soul because what I witnessed as a kid, you know, and I could sit there and go, well, I didn't do it. No, it's like I'm looking, okay, so what was the gift? What did I learn? I have a friend, Scott Schilling, who wrote a book called That Sucks, Now What? After, you know, because things happen. So what are you going to do with that? How are you going to let it impact you? Is it going to, oh, I can help other people who've gone through that. Oh, you know, I was a fabulous licensed professional counselor when I did that. I did that for 14 years and I was good at it, but I wanted to make a bigger difference. I felt like I was living a semi-retired, happy life. And I knew that I could impact more people if I got back into the world. And I'm still working at that, you know, 20 years later.
Absolutely. I love it. Hey, Pete wants to know, what is a typical good gratitude practice? I think he's asking a good gratitude practice.
I'm going to, one way that I just, you know, out of the gate tell people to do is, there's a book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, who wrote The Secret. Frankly, I'm not crazy about The Secret at all. I have a lot of, you know, about it. But The Magic is 28-day practice, gratitude practice, that you can integrate into your day. It doesn't mean that you have to sit down for 2 hours every day to do this. But if you read the book, The Magic, and you follow the exercises for 28 days, I promise you, you'll end up in a different place. As a matter of fact.
And how long per day is that?
It depends. Most of the gratitude practices are a consciousness one. So it's like you read it and then you follow the rest of the day with that in the back of your mind. So if you're looking for the good, you're looking for the magic of the day. I mean, there's 28 specific day. One, I think chapter 3, day 3, they're working on, I don't know if it's 3, but they're working on relationships. Take the most difficult relationship in your life, and it teaches you how to have gratitude within that and transform that relationship.
Wow.
There's one about money consciousness. There's one about, you know, every single day there's a different level of gratitude and being in sort of saying and smiling and saying hello and thank you and saying thank you. But the consistent thing throughout the 28 days is you write you write 10 things you're grateful for. So you get up in the morning and you scribble 10 things you're grateful for. If you say, and why, I am grateful for Chris in my life because he always builds me and creates and helps me to be more, you know.
Right.
But if you add the because, it makes a difference. So you write all those down and then you reread them and feel in your body what that gratitude. If you did nothing else but write gratitudes every day, instead of reading the whole book, but if you just did those 10 gratitudes daily, you'd get there. And if you can't do 10, do 5. You know, do
exactly.
3. And you do it, and you can do it at whatever time of day you want. Some people do it in the morning, some people do it at night. I like to do it in the morning. And like everything else, my consistency, you know, if I did it more consistently on a daily basis, I think it would be,
Hmm.
I have it running in my mind all the time. When I'm driving and traffic's awful, I'll say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I start thinking of things that make me say thank you. But if
Hmm.
I, rather than
I do it in the shower.
you do it in the shower. I remember when you used to swim laps saying your affirmations. You
I
have
still
vision.
do it. I still do it right now. And here they are right here. I got it all in my journal. And that's all I think about because, doing laps, swimming 40 laps every morning it's sort of
Boring.
boring. But I just get into a state, as you would say, and, I'm off to the races. But this is super cool. Sharon, let me ask you a question. If you, knowing what you know right now, and you could talk to your younger self in your 20s, what would you tell your younger self?
You asked me this the other day, and I left out the most important thing that I would tell myself.
Mm.
I would say, have no regrets. Don't judge anything you're doing, thinking, wanting, believing. Don't judge it. Learn from it, grow from it, make new choices, but don't have regrets. And I realized that I had such a habit of self-judgment in the name of self-growth and improvement. I have to do this, and this. And it took all the joy out of it. And
Yeah.
and
We're
and
so
what I
hard on ourselves.
we're so hard on ourselves. And what I also realized, I was in a class recently with my dearest mentors that I've had for 35 years. And they did an exercise on regrets. And I realized I, a lot of people say, oh, I have no regrets. I have a ton of regrets. And it's such a habit that every decision, everything I do, I have a tendency to second guess it. Should I do this instead? Should I do that instead? No, make a decision and act on it. And give yourself grace. I mean, and for me, that's what happened when I stopped hating God was grace. I don't have to do this all alone. There's a
Mm.
universe that supports me. It doesn't have to be God or Jesus or Moses. It's the fact that we live in a unified electrical magnetic universe that
Hmm.
all holds
Hmm.
itself together. We're on the planet. Gravity works.
I love it. That's so cool, and I think that's the biggest thing that I took away as well. I was just so hard on myself, and my backstory, which I'm not going to get into right now. My 20s, 30s, and 40s, I was just like, oh my God, I did so much to damage myself to prove myself, what a waste of energy and money and everything else. So,
But we
listen,
did
I
what
have
we
to
did.
wrap up because
We did what we
what's
did.
that?
We did what we did, but we learned from it. And that's the point.
Yes. Yeah,
And I don't have any
exactly.
regrets right now. Guess what? I have no regrets
Good
right
for
now.
you. Good for you. I love it. I actually have to get on a listing presentation right now. I'm going to do a Zoom listing presentation for a $2 million listing. So wish me luck.
You don't need luck. You have the skill.
I
And
love
you have
it.
the heart.
Sharon, you're such a sweetheart. Thank you so much for taking your time. I hope that we all learned a lot from you because I know I'm learning from you every single day, and it's a blessing to have you in my life, and I really appreciate everything that you did today.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, all right, my dear friend, you take care. Thank you so much.
All right. I don't know how to get out of this stop leave studio.